everybody, welcome back to my little YouTube channel. If you're new to this channel, my name's Amanda. I'm a diagnosed autistic adult. I'm 41 years old. I was diagnosed with autism a few years ago. In today's video, I want to talk and discuss a little bit about the autistic battery model. The autistic battery model is the energy model that autistic people and even the psychologists advise autistic people to use with regards to assessing how much energy we've got left per day. So there's so many things that can deplete our autistic battery, but on the other hand, there's many things that sort of re-energise our autistic battery, and that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. So in lots of my previous videos, you might have heard me talking a little bit about the autistic battery. So it's a gauge that is used by autistic individuals and doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists to determine what activities deplete our social battery and what we can do about it in terms of trying to take ourselves away from that situation in order to re-energise our autistic battery. So one of the main things that deplete the autistic battery, and these things really deplete my battery, and I find myself having to take a step back from engaging in these activities and having to sort of take time out, re-energise myself. And the first one is social stresses. Like I've said, everybody in society, you don't have to have autism, we all find certain things that we do in our lives stressful and we don't like to do them, or they deplete us, or being around certain people or certain situations. And social stresses is one of the things for autistic people that can really drain the autistic battery. It really drains our energy levels. So that can include just things like being around other people, having to interact with other people, and just things as simple as making conversation with other people, making eye contact. Autistic people, we often find making direct eye contact very stressful, and sometimes when we do it, it's often part of a masking experience. Check out my latest video on autistic masking. So we're having to participate in social gatherings and participate in, say for example, group activities in work environments or education settings, such as Christmas parties that I've just previously said, or birthday parties. It can be very energy depleting for an autistic person. Another issue that really depletes the autistic battery is different sensory stresses, and that can include things like bright lights, loud noises, unpredictable environments, unpredictable situations, unpredictable sounds from the different unpredictable environments and situations. For example, if you go to certain parties, there might be bright flashing lights that autistic people often find really stressful, and it can overload our sensory experience. It can also include the senses such as different types of food, the unpredictability of certain foods in certain situations. It can include pain, and things like people touching us and hugging us can really deplete our social battery. And that brings me to the next thing that really reduces the autistic battery, the autistic energy level, and that is unpredictability, similar to what I've just said before. It could be changing of routines. We all know in a work or an education environment, plans and routines can often change, and it can be quite spontaneous and unpredictable, and it can really deplete our autistic energy levels. And it can include things like roadworks. We might be going somewhere and we might have planned for a specific journey to go to a specific place, and there might be unpredictable roadworks that have occurred that can really deplete us and cause lots of meltdowns, and meltdowns then really do deplete the autistic battery massively. It can include things like changing appointments, if we've got doctor's appointments, hair appointments, dental appointments for example, and then they phone up and they change it, and it's just unpredictable. It happens at the last minute and it's spontaneous, and these things can really reduce our autistic energy levels. The next issue that can really deplete the social battery is unfamiliarity, and that can include going somewhere new, unpredictable events, for example. For example, I know when I used to work in the National Health Service, I'd often have to go to big team meetings. Often every year we'd have to go somewhere, and it could be in places like Derby or Chesterfield, away from where I live. And especially if I've never been to those places before, just having to plan a new journey, not knowing if this road works, not knowing what time I'm going to arrive, what time I need to set off, and just the whole unfamiliarity of the place that I'm going to could be really stressful for me as an autistic person, and it often led to meltdowns. So having unfamiliar environments, being in unpredictable environments, can really drain autistic energy levels. It can really drain the autistic battery. Another thing that really has a massive impact on our autistic energy levels is psychological stresses, and this can be things like pre-existing medical problems such as anxiety. One of the most common co-occurring conditions that go alongside autism spectrum conditions is that of anxiety, especially social anxiety problems. And so having sort of anxiety and going into unpredictable environments and having to deal with all that I've just said previously in this video can really reduce our autistic battery. It can lead to things like panic attacks and autistic meltdowns. So having said all that, all the things that can really deplete our energy as autistic people, that can really drain our autistic battery, there are things on the other hand, on the reverse of that, that we can do, or that can be done, or that can be suggested, that can re-energise and increase our autistic battery, to increase our energy levels. And I'm going to go into a few of those now. So I think the first one, and the biggest one for me, is social isolation. So being around groups of people are really energy depleting for me. If I just take a step back away from people and spend time on my own, I often find it really re-energising. And just being by myself, doing my own thing, making YouTube videos, for example, playing my PlayStation, watching a good movie or a good YouTube programme, something that I enjoy, I often find engaging in my special interests and doing things by myself on my own, being in my own company, not having to talk and interact with other people, one of the best things to increase my social battery and re-energise myself, so I'm better able to function the next day. Another thing that autistic people can do to increase our energy levels, to increase our social battery, is using alternative communication styles. Now, often when we have to go to work environments, education settings, being around family and friends, especially for social gatherings, Christmas time parties and all that sort of thing, Sunday lunch get-togethers, whatever it might be for you, we often have to make direct communication with people, talk to people, make eye contact. We often get hugged and squeezed by people, so it's quite often very draining for our autistic energy levels. And if we sort of engage in alternative communication styles, that can really help us. What do I mean by that? Going on YouTube, talking and interacting with other people, especially other autistic people that feel the same as you do, and talking with autistic people maybe via text on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, or different ways of communicating that's not face-to-face, is often preferable to talking face-to-face and having to strain ourselves and mask, which is something that can really drain us. And it's often something I do, which is why I love to make these YouTube videos. I love to interact and communicate. I'm often sat here talking to myself. I'm doing something that re-energises me, and then I'm able to then build a sort of a friendship and a communication support network with other autistic people, but it's not done face-to-face. It's done via messaging, via comment system, and that's exactly what I mean by alternative communication styles and socialising. Another thing that autistic people can do to help to increase our social battery is sensory activities, and this can include things like stimming. Stimming can be something completely different to different people. It's something that we do that often is sort of like a self-soothing mechanism. Mine's twirling my hair. Structure and routine is really important for autistic people. As I've said previously, unpredictability, spontaneous events, things that happen without forewarning, things that happen that aren't pre-planned, that aren't structured, often deplete our autistic battery. So having structure and having routine, having a set timetable every day allows for predictability and it allows for safety, and that's something that can really increase and help to keep our social battery at a more normal level. Another thing that can increase the autistic social battery is special interests. Now, my special interest is doing YouTube videos, it's playing PlayStation games, it's watching my favourite YouTuber and watching my favourite YouTube programmes. Special interest can be something different for different people. So participating in our special interests boosts our mental health, it boosts our emotional well-being, and it helps restore our autistic battery. And then another thing is practicing psychological techniques. Now, what do I mean by that? This could be things like practicing mindfulness. It could be taking deep breaths in and out for 5 minutes. It could be doing meditation, simple 5-minute YouTube meditation videos. It could be grounding techniques and just practicing psychological techniques throughout our day, especially if we're working or in education, or if we're having to be around social events for long periods of time. Practicing psychological techniques really help to boost our autistic energy levels. And then of course just participating in other calming activities, and that could include things like just watching, like I previously said, your favourite movie on television or your favourite YouTuber, or just doing things that you enjoy really help to increase the autistic battery level. So I hope this little YouTube video has helped you to better understand a little bit more about what the autistic battery model means. If you've enjoyed it, please consider hitting like, commenting and subscribing, and I shall see you next time for my next vlog.